Sir, you're mute. Please unmute.
Sorry. Welcome to AYUSH Samriddhi 197 National Webinar. Definitely it is international due to the presence of Professor Madan Thangveluji from UK. I would like to welcome our speakers, Dr. Ajay Kumarji, Dr. Ajayan Sadanandanji, Dr. Goyeshwar Patilji. Thank you. And first of all, thanks to Dr. Vishnu Prasad Sharma ji, Madan Thangvelu ji, Suhas Kumar Shetty ji, and experts on the dice of the dice. As we know, this journey has reached now to the milestone of 197th webinar with your valuable supports, valuable blessings, and in association with Vishwa Ayurved Parsad, Ayush Darpan Foundation, and definitely, first and foremost, my organization, Imami and Jandu. So I would like to welcome you all again. Today is World Photography Day. It's very unique day. I would like to communicate my sincere thanks and regards for accepting our proposal within very short period. Swagatam, Namaskaram. Now I would like to hand over the charge of moderation to my younger brother, Dr. Jayesh Thakkar. Dr. Jayesh Thakkar ji.
Namaste, sir. Thank you, sir. Namaste and welcome all to 197 AYUSH Samriddhi National Webinar. Today, 19th of August is World Photography Day and we are to celebrate Ayurveda, rare and best photography. On this day, with support of Independent Research Ethics Society, Vishwa Ayurved Parisad, Ayush Darpan, Jandu Imami, we are having three special speakers from different parts of India. We have with us Professor Ajayan Sir, Dr. Ajay Kumar Sir, and Dr. Guheswar Sir. With due permission of our host, Dr. Pawan Kurma Sarma Sir, we'll be starting our program today. So, as World Photography Day, photography is one of the most interesting thing, and we'll be excited to know how we can have rare and best photography with our Ayurveda. So, before one, two, three, and smile, let's welcome with two hands Professor Ajayan Sir. Professor Ajayan Sir is very well-known figure in Ayurveda. His regular post in Facebook and updates really itself shows that there are interesting pictures of herbs and minerals. And we are very excited with a short brief about Sir. Professor Dr. Ajayan Sir is from Sri Kesavan Memorial in Tiruvananthapuram, Kerala. Sir is member of documentation of local health tradition and ethno-medical practices, CCRS, Ministry of Ayush, Government of India. Sir has documented Marma Chikitsa in CCRS, Government of India. Sir is part of Institutional Ethics Society, AVP Coimbatore. Sir has conducted numerous ethno-medical studies on Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Telangana, Andhra, Maharashtra, both Western and Eastern Ghats. Sir has been born and brought up in a traditional Agastya Marma practicing family. Sir is the grandson of late Brahmasri Kesavan, who have been the Marma head in Trivandrum Ayurveda College, and they have contributed to the famous Murivenna oil combination to the public. Sir have been working for plant conservation, education, protection, and multiplication by all possible ways. And we are really blessed to have Sir with us today. Sir, you're welcome.
Namaste, sir. Thank you.
Namaste, sir. You can share your slides.
Okay, sir. Okay. Are you able to see, sir?
Still not. Sir, now it's visible. Sir, you can full screen and begin. Sir, the desk
Yeah,
is yours.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, and it's a great pleasure to be share the photographies in this World Photographic Day especially regarding in Ayurveda. And I am going to present with a special reference to nature and plants. So, respected Pawan Kumar sir, J.S. Thakur sir, Ajay Kumar sir, Guhesh sir, and Madan Tangavelu sir, and all other great personalities, doctors, and other peoples who are attending this seminar. So thank you one and all. With all your permission, we can see some of the important aspects of photography that can be very much useful in Ayurveda. So we know that Ayurveda is a science which utilizing the observational capacity, our pratyaksha pramana and inference in a very wide and diverse manner. So the photography which helps to understand these observations into a different level, and we can convey easily these observations to other peoples also, so that it can be better understandable and it can be well perceivable. So you can see that in this photo, a beautiful blue lotus is there, and to the lotus, a one bee is coming. So these indicates that a life has a diverse thing in nature, and it is attracted to each other by various types of colors, smell, and other things. So each and every life has its own predominance. So we can go through some of the aspects where Ayurveda is photography is very important in Ayurveda. So if you see that capturing the beauty and sharing to others is a feeling of joy and happiness. Along with it, we are able to share an objective image in a subtle and a different way that will convey a knowledge, then it is extraordinary. So one can communicate an idea in a simple and effective manner through these photographs. And what it's help in documenting and learning, and it's an effective medium of sharing the informations of the science. More than a verbal communication, one can effectively convey the informations in a different level. So these are the things that will be arising from the nature. And in Ayurveda, we know that these observations and findings that can be better shared through these types of photographs. So seeing an object in a subtle way, both in a macroscopical or in a microscopical way, is very good way. Or these photographs can be conveyed through a very good way. So capturing the beauty of life in a memorable way is also one of the important thing in photography. So in Ayurveda, we know that understanding the geography, ecology, desha is one of the important things. So understanding a Bhumi Parisha and geographical understanding is the prime and important thing in Ayurveda. So it's very difficult to describe that, how we can describe an Agashya Bhumi or an Agneya Bhumi like that. But through this photograph itself, we can describe that Agashya Bhumi is a Mahaparvata area, a area which is having a very hilly things, and where there will be a grasslands are there. And it's there will be a plenty of stones and plenty of small plants are there. Most of the trees are Asara Vriksha. The hardwood is not that much there. So that is the Agashya Bhumi. So we can interpret this Agashya Bhumi in a very good picture. That is one of the important things. And the same way, we can interpret a Jaliya Bhumi also, an aquatic area, a place where an Anupadesham there will be a plenty of water is there. We can demonstrate this, that Bahu Udakam, plenty of water is there, and there will be so much of flora. You can see that diverse types of trees, herbs, shrubs, and climbers we can see. So this can be illustrated by such type of photograph very easily. Another thing is the ecosystem. So if we want to document an ecosystem, a photograph can document an ecosystem in a very good manner. So in this photograph, you can see that a watery area where a small stream is there and plenty of plants are there in the surrounding. And or by seeing that plants on the surrounding, you can see that there will be, yes, nest like things. So many taproot systems will be there that can accommodate various types of aquatic creatures like fish, crabs, and other things. So it will be a shelter thing. And moreover, this watery area is packed with numerous plants. So these plants can able to recreate the water to make the water in a pure form, and it will be flow very easily. So the photographies of these particular nature can help to document the ecosystem and to know about the importance of the ecosystem and its wealth of life on that particular area. And same time, if you closely take a picture of a land, the sand itself will show particular type of predominance. So we are, our acharyas are told that there will be multicolored sand. Then it will indicate to an Agneya Bhumi, Nana Varna Bahu Amshavadi. So there will be a multicolor. We can see that in this photo, there will be plenty of different colored, black color, red color, white color. This indicates that this land is having a predominance of Agneya Bhumi. So, but when we are taking a land in an Parthiva predominance, it will be very blackish in color. We can't see these types of multicolor. So like that, we can easily identify the soils also from each place, and we can denote that this ecosystem will be good for these types of purpose. So someone is able to document this in their particular level. It can provide another knowledge also. We can say that this land will be useful for these types of plant for cultivation and growing of these types of plants. So like that, if you are seeing some of the ecosystem, a tree is very important. So if a tree which is situating in a very big banner with a big canopy like this, so a long range, if you are seeing such a type of a tree, that will be very important in our ecosystem, that is the ficus varieties, Ashwatha. So you can see that this much of canopy is there. So if you are able to visualize the canopy of this tree in this manner, we can expect that the root system also is double the quantity in the under the ground. So if such a tree in a plain land will promote an ideal ecosystem for a land, air, water, and accommodate so many small creatures of the earth. So these indicate that we have single tree can promote a single ecosystem, a big ecosystem of a particular land. That's why our acharyas are told that Dasha Kupa Samavavi, 10 wells are equal to one small type of a pond like things, and Dashavabi Samohrida, 10 types of such pond is equal to one big Jalashaya, and Dashahrida Samo Putra, such type of 10 big ponds are equal to one Putra, and Dashaputra Samo Druma, 10 sons are equal to one tree. So by looking into these trees and how much important it providing to the nature through to accommodating so many birds and small creatures by providing numerous small fruits and helping the airs of the surrounding and keeping the ecosystem of the ground and storing the water. All these indicate that this plant has having such a wealth in our community. Like that, if you want to see that a plant which is growing near to the river, this is the Arjuna. That's why it is called as Nadi Sarja. By this, we can see that the bark itself is white in color. That is why it is called as Arjunam, Panduradruma. And it will be near to the river, water body. So a Nadi Sarja, one which is growing. So these indicate that we can convey these things to other peoples, that this is a plant like this, which is having a whitish bark and it is living near to the watery area. And it is very much important in the ecology, so that the bees will be shelter on this. When the trees will be profusely flowered, the bees will come. The bees need liters of water for their making of their nest and to sustain. So near to this, such a tree which is having plenty of honey, then the bees will come and accommodate it. So through these photographs, we can able to tell that these types of trees are very important in ecology, and this ecosystem balancing is very important in Ayurveda also, to maintain a proper good Rasaguna Virya or chemical constants of the plant, and same time such type of naturally occurring things will be reflected in the honey of the plant that occurring on that particular area. Another thing is the interrelations of the nature. The photographic and observations on the photos of the plants and its interactions with the insects and other things. So when we are seeing a photo with a plant which is fed by such type of a butterfly, then surely we can infer that this plant has having some of the valuable chemical constituents that will be promoting a colorful dyes to these insects. And this may be sometimes a poisonous things. So you can see that in this photo, there will be plenty of these larvae are there eating this. This is an Adenia frontala, a passiflora member plant which is eaten by this, because the passiflora plants containing a small type of chemical constituent, and that constituent may be harmful to other predators. So these worms will eat that, and it will producing that red color, and the predators will not to come to there. So this will shows that this plant leaf can be a very good medicine for antifungal and antibacterial. Like that, if you are seeing a plant will be attracted by so much of insects. This is the photo of an agrimantha, and on an agrimantha, the tiny coaster, that butterfly is there. So these butterflies are coming and more are eating. Then that plant also is having such type of chemicals which can retract or act against these types of things. So like that, a close observation of the nature with the interconnections of these small creatures will provide a very good information regarding the interconnections of Paraspara Prakriti Sambandham, the close relations of the plants with the surrounding things. And another important thing is the field surveys. Our Acharya Charaka and Susruta Acharya has told that we have plenty of field surveys are necessary. So the field surveys in Nadishu, Shaileshu, Sarasuchapi, Punyeshu, Araneshu, Tadashrameshu. So all these places in the hilly terrains, when you are doing a field survey or ethnomedico botanical studies, on that time, if you take the photographs, then it will help in the documentation and digitalization of this. So by that, the future, it is very good tool that we can document, and geographically we can map out the trees and the plants which are very much rare and medicinally useful in this way. So like that, if you see, when we are doing the field ethnomedico botanical studies, we found that one tree is very much cared, and they're doing prayer on this particular area. So this is the Maduka, and they are telling that these fruits are used to extract the oil. So through these photographs, we can document these informations into another level, and there he shared these things. So when we closely took a photograph of this bark of this plant, and we come to know that they are taking out these bark for some purpose, and we inquired that for which purpose they are using. They are told that they are peeling out this bark, and then that is using for the children's. When the babies are getting an epilepsy like thing along with fever, they will rub it with breast milk and it is giving. And here these photos indicate you that how sustainably they are harvesting these barks. So they are not cutting it in an indiscriminate way. Only 2 or 3 centimeter breadth they will cutting it out, so that the plant has capacity to rebuild these barks into another level. So like that, sustainable harvesting is one of the important thing that we have to remember, and we can convey through these things of that what they are doing in the forests through these types of features. So the documentation of the ethnomedical knowledge with such type of photos is a very valuable thing in Ayurveda. And another thing is, when you are seeing a tree, how we can see that which Panchamahabhuta is predominant. So a long range shot of a tree like this or like this, we can infer that how the Mahabhuta is predominant in this. So here you can see that the tree is coming, and then it's coming in a single stem, and a particular place it will give rise to branches. So why it is happening? So it's telling that when Prithvi is Mahabhuda's matter is very predominant, and it is coming to up a level with the help of Vayu and Agni. At that particular place, the Agni will reduce its power, then the branches will be taking place, because Vayu will supersede and it will be dragged out. So by seeing this tree like this, we can infer that this plant will having a predominance of Kashayam and Tiktarasam, because Kashaya and Tiktarasa is a combination of Prithvi, Ayu and Tejas Mahabhudas. So by that we can observe and infer that by seeing such a canopy and such a branching things, this tree has having these types of predominance. And like that, when you see the leaves, so there will be various types of beautiful colors and variegations that will be taking place. Ajarya is telling that Dirgha Vritta Tiryak Chadurasham Teja Parigrahanath. So when there will be Tejas is very active, then it will infer the leaves also. So a leaf with such a type of multicolored and such type of things there, we can expect that the Tejo Mahabhuta is very active in this, especially with these red colors. And here also you can see that incised leaves, such type of leaves, we can infer that it is predominant with Teja. So like that, here the venations also. Anterior aspect, such type of things is there. On the posterior aspect, you can say such type of predominant venations with red color. So Tejo Mahabhuta and a more affinity towards the acting on the blood. This plant is having a very good action on blood related disorders, especially in Visarpam and Vidradi like conditions. So like that, if you see the flowers, flowers are one of the beautiful thing that we can capture and we can share to others. So these types of flowers with multicolor. So by seeing such type of flowers itself, by and comparing it with our Mahabodhi feelings, we can able to say that this plant has having a predominance of these Mahabodhas and maybe it will be useful for this. So a blackish, these types of flower will be indicating that Kala Varnam, blackishness and black combinations. So this plant is having a very predominant of Prati Mahabodha. So that this is the flower of Arogya Pacha, Trichopus silanicum, and it is a very Rasayanadri. And here you can see that this plant is bluish in color. Actually, this is a plant which is occurring in the aquatic area, and it is having a predominance of Aptatum, and it will be good for a diuretic action in our body. And if you see this, this is a Jivaga flower, Malaxis acuminata. So you can see a multicolored and various types of petals and these things. So yellow, red, and that blackish combination. So a balancing of the Mahabhuta with Pratyap Teja Agashas, and it is very good for Jivana purposes. Like that, a white flower which is having a predominance of Agasha Tattvas. Like that, we can infer so many things through these types of photographs. And some of the important is a same plant with having a same type of species and structural flowers. It may differ in various ways. So now we are seeing one of the source of Soma, Ceropegia species, Ceropegia juncea. So we can see the flower itself. It is also a multicolored and like this. So the flower, seeing of this flower itself, telling that it is having some divine type of things. And the same species, if you see the other flower species like this, Ceropegia, another species, these are also very variable medicinal plants. So like that, if you documenting and comparing the different species flowers, we can easily find out that these plants can be useful for these type of same pharmacological property in some extent. So that is the, and another thing is we can document these endangered endemic plants of these types in various parts of the world also. And by seeing these types of plants in other parts of the continent also, we can compare, is it having the same pharmacological properties or not. Like that, sometimes we'll see that the plant is very common, but we are unable to identify. So this is the Sida cordifolia, Bella, one which is commonly using. You can see that by taking a close photography of this, the flowers, the leaf structure, the hairs that present on that, and see the matured fruits. The matured fruits are having small bristle-like hairs like this in the fruits, and we can compare this. So this shows that this is Sida cordifolia. If you are getting some other Sida, if you are doubt, you can compare with these minute type of features and clearly indicate that this is not the real Sida, or it may be a good Sida also. So like that, by comparing these minute features, photography is one of the important thing, and most of the time we are unable to perceive these minute character features through our eyes. But once you take a close-up of these photos, surely we can able to identify these in the different light. Another is the Loga Purusha Samanyavada. So a doctrine of signature. So when you are taking a plant and the plant is having small tubers like that and veins like this and wires like this, and it will be this. So this is the Musta, Cyprus rotundans. And when you take photos of this lymphatic system and this lymph node swellings, we can compare that it with this like this is, so it is called as Grandhilam, and it is effective in Grandhila within the Rasavaka Srotasas. That's why it is a best Sangrahi Vadahara Dibanyana. So by symbol, by this photo, we can share to others that this will be a very good drug for Rasavaha Srodo Vigaras. That's why we can useful in various types of intestinal problems and other things. Like that, this is a plant which is growing in an heavy current of water flowing area. in a heavy river area. So now when I took the photograph, the water is not that much, so that we can able to see. But once the rain is come, it will be completely flowing in a very fast manner. So on this forceful flowing area itself, some plants will able to break the stones and to settle on that. So that is the Pashana Peda. So we can infer that by this geography, it's where it is occurring, and by breaking it is occurring, and you can see that it's having a blue colored flower because it is occurring on the water area. Blue is the Aptatwa color. So like that, we can use this for urinary stones. So by photographing this, we can share that this plant is occurring in this habitat and the nature of growth is like that, and it can be useful for the same pharmacological property. Another example is like this. If you take a photograph of a ringworm infections in our axilla, it will be look like that. And this is the medicine that for the ringworm affliction. This is called as Shaileum, a lichen, a combination of algae and fungi. So by that, by showing such type of similarity, common features in a better photography, one can easily use for various types of diseases. So another thing is a common drug, but when and how, and we have to select that plant. So through the photographs, if you are able to document the different stages of the flowers and the fruits, then we can convey easily that these are the stages where the plant is going on, and we have to collect this plant in this particular area at particular time. So you can see that this is Cartonaragus spinosum, Madanapala. Once it will be blooming, when it will be white in color, then it will be turning into an yellowish color. These indicates that both in the daytime and the night, the pollination of this flower will take place by the butterflies and the moths. So, and after that, the fruits will be occurring like that. And we can see that the plenty of thorns are there. So it is called as Karahada, Golaphala. The synonyms can be easily shared to others. And you can see that here, when it is mature, it will become strains like. So it is called as Dara Phala Kandala, a bell like hanging. So like this, we can share these things very easily and convey to the others by simple photographs. And this will help in identification and the time where we have to collect. So on this photograph, you can see that it will be changing into yellowish color, from the green to yellowish color. This is the ideal time to collect the proper Madanaphala. Like that, if you are seeing, the Acharya Charaka has told that Sarvalogatmam Anyatmagam Sarvaloge Samanupashyadi Satya Buddhi Samutpade. Seeing the entire universe in the self and vice versa give rise to true knowledge. So we have to look into the nature, and we nowadays these types of sophisticated, beautiful techniques are there. So through these photographs, if you are able to document and capture this, and we can able to share this, we can get good insights of our theories into another level. So this is the Acharya is telling, Shastram Jyoti Prakashartam Dashram Buddhiratmana. So by a simple photograph itself, we can able to know that this can be captured and it will be shared to the others also. So this photographs has having a very good perspective in future also. So to document the things and to share for the future generations, because nowadays the flora is depleting, everything is changing, and an image can provide more details than the words, and communicating idea into a simple word. And more than that, we can document these things and we can share these things to others for the better understanding and for comparing the things that will be occurring on other parts. So with all these, I will concluding my section. So thank you for providing me for giving information regarding these photographies importance in Ayurveda for nature and plants knowing. So thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for a wonderful presentation. You made us visualize the Pancha Mahabhut and a very unique presentation. We are really grateful, and it's really true that a picture speaks thousands of words. The herbarium and the photo collection can surely make our studies interesting, and we have much to know, and we'll be definitely like to have you in our future presentation also, sir. So thank you, sir, once again. And
Thank you, sir.
now, moving on to our next dynamic speaker of the day, we have with us one of the special sir with us, Dr. Ajay Kumar T. Sir. Sir is a consultant psychiatrist. He is the director of Punya Koti Health Services Hospital. Sir is a very well-known figure, and Sir is a very well-known practitioner in mental health, and Sir will be discussing with us Killian photography in clinical practice, where photography for mental health. And we are indeed blessed to have Ajay Kumar Sir with us, and we are excited to know more about Killian photography. Sir, you're welcome. The desk is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Jayesh. My pranams to all the Ayurvedic fraternity and the other people who have gathered here for this webinar. It's indeed a privilege for me to be among all of you and to share my clinical experience. Dr. Jayesh, can I share
Yes,
my
sir.
PPT?
Yeah. Yes, sir. You can share. We have made you presenter.
Thank you. Okay, is it visible, Dr. Jayesh?
Still yet. Now it's visible. Perfectly visible. Sir,
Okay,
you can
okay.
start your presentation. The desk is yours. Thank you,
The
sir.
time, Dr. Jayesh, what's the time I have?
Sir, you can
Okay, 20,
continue.
30 minutes? Okay, okay.
Yeah. Around
Right.
30 minutes is fine.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Jayesh.
So the desk
Uh,
is yours as you wish.
Okay, thank
We
you.
are
Thank you.
indeed eager to hear more from you.
Okay.
Welcome, sir.
Right, thank you. Thank you. Now, it's indeed a privilege to be on this dais to interact and to share my clinical experience as a psychiatrist, as a practicing psychiatrist with my other Ayurvedic colleagues. It's indeed a privilege. And today's topic has been a rare and best photography. Dr. Ajayan Sir has already shown one of the best photographs. The next talk, what I'm going to show is probably one of the rare photographies. Now, my main intention would be to, hello. Hello, yeah, right. My main objective of this next 20 to 30 minutes presentation would be to basically to reach an objective of how we can enrich our client-centered clinical practice through technology, that is through photography. Now, specifically today, I'll be talking about the Kirlian photography. And I would be going in a particular flow chart. Initially, it will be an introduction as to, how we are practicing here and what is the need for photography in our clinical practice. And then the concept of health as a multi-dimension, very basics of, very basics of Kirlian photography, and about the device we are using here, Buyable device and bioenergy, and our experience in clinical practice with this device. Both, I will be presenting few case studies and the pros and cons of it. Ultimately, the objective for the listeners would be that how can we enrich our client-centered clinical practice? I'm very specific here in saying that it is client-centered, not the doctor-centered. So once we say it's a client-centered, obviously our approach has to be multidimensional. Coming to our clinical practice here, so that a few points about the background, so that we'll be able to understand better. And we are practicing for the past 20 years, following what is called as an integrative or a holistic mental health practice. Through two things. One is the Punyakoti Healthcare, and then the Punyakoti Foundation, which is the charitable aspect of it. And we are a team. We do operate as a team here, holistic team. We are 4 psychiatrists, including myself, an Ayurvedic physician, an homeopath physician, clinical psychologist, medical social workers, nature therapists, and the allied staff. And we deliver these services through 2 centers. One is a 25-bedded hospital in a semi-urban area, and a 15 acres area where what we call it as a healing spaces, which is much more nearer to naturopathy and Ayurveda. We do deliver through 2 platforms. One is center-based services, and the other is community-based. Now, our major, sort of a search or a research is something about an interface between spirituality and mental health. So with that in a few backdrop, we go to the next part. Okay, this is a few photographs about our place here. That's the healing spaces. It's about a area wherein we are looking out how nature can cure mental illnesses. Okay, now Coming to the next part about health as a multidimensional thing. Once we say it is a client-centered approach, obviously our first, the primary objective or the top on priority is to understand the client in a much better way or the best possible way, so that we are able to give him the maximum inputs so that his health improves. Now, once we call it as a client-centered, obviously the next thing would be to look at it in a multidimensional way. Yes, the definition which is probably widely accepted by the WHO and elsewhere is about the multidimensional aspect of physical, mental, social, and spiritual domains of health, rather than just merely an absence of a disease or an illness. As I shown here in this slide, our major concern is this spiritual aspect. We are given too much of importance to this physical aspect, especially I'm telling it in our MBBS background, the Western medicine. Now it's more of it is more towards this mental health and also social health with the COVID in background. Somewhere we are just still unable to touch that spiritual aspect. I'm talking in the context of Western medicine. Definitely Ayurveda and other alternative systems are much more ahead in terms of spiritual health. Now, once we say that I need to understand a client in my clinical practice, I basically want the data about him to the maximum extent or the information so that I can collate that information, analyze it and come to a diagnosis which helps me in making a management plan. Now we have different modalities of obtaining this data. One is history, a clinical history, which is given either by the patient or by the caretakers. Then we have a cross-sectional clinical examination. Then we have investigations, which will generate us some evidences as to show what is happening with the patient. These are the three areas wherein we try to collect our information so that we are able to understand the person in a multi-dimensional way. Once we say investigations, obviously, it's objectivity, wherein I'm showing an objective evidence to the patient that there is something something wrong with your health. Therefore, you need to get it corrected. So once we call it as an investigations, our next thing is about documenting. Yes, we have this physical health. We know very well. Yes, we have a lot of documentation available, lot of investigations available. You name them, it is there, starting from the blood investigations to the imaging or to the functional MRIs. We do have a lot of investigations where we can document so that I can get a lot of information about the physical aspects of the person. Now, coming to the psychological aspects, definitely it is less investigative than the physical aspects. But in the recent times, we do have some psychological tests which are delivered by these mental health practitioners, psychiatrists or psychologists, who we are able to understand something like a Rorschach test, which is a projection test, so that we can understand the processes happening inside the mind. Somewhere EEG comes nearer to that to rule out some organicity. Yes, that is another way of investigating the psychological health. Now, coming to social health, the other dimension is there are a lot of social determinants of health, wherein we are able to document them through surveys or through doing a lot of epidemiological studies, trying to understand what are the factors, social factors which determine the health. Now, the biggest challenge for us is spirituality, the spiritual health. I put a big question over there, and it's a big question. It's something which is probably a lot of debatable things to be done. But can we look at it as something which is energy? Nowadays, there is a big thing coming up called as an energy medicine. So, can we relate spirituality with energy? There are a lot of Oriental philosophical thoughts wherein they say spirituality is nothing but energy, which is not visible through our five senses, but which can be felt. Probably, which probably it's very difficult to vocalize it. So, can we look at it as an energy? Once we call it as an energy, can I get an data about that spiritual domain of my client? So I'm able to get a physical data. I'm able to get something related to psychological and social data. But when I look at the spiritual aspect, am I able to get some data related to this energy? If at all, if we agree, is whether energy is somewhere nearer to spirituality. Let's for the time being agree that energy is related to spirituality. Now, one thing which comes nearer to the documentation of energy is Kirlian photography. What we are talking today about rare photography in clinical practice. One of it is probably Kirlian photography. Can we use it as an investigative tool so that I can generate evidences, I can generate some data about my client so that I'm able to understand him better. So what you are seeing is different Kirlian photographies. Now, once we say that, what is Kirlian photography, and then what is the devices which we are utilizing here? What is our experience? So I'm unable to go to the next slide. Jayesh, can you help me?
So the screen is visible.
Yeah.
So you can change.
Okay, I get it. It's taking little time.
Okay. Perfect.
Right. Fine. Now coming to the basics of Kirlian photography, I'll not be touching much of theory, but very basic so that we are able to understand it. And the common notion about Kirlian photography is something that we are seeing something which is invisible. I mean, somebody call it an aura or Prabhavalis and all that stuff. But coming to the very basic science of photography or Kirlian photography is something which we are, it's a technique for creating a contact print photography. As you can see, the image I am showing here, it's a contact print photography. No lens are utilized here. When you pass a high voltage and a high frequency current momentarily in short pulses to the object over here, something like a plant leaf over here. Now, once that current is passed, there is a discharge of electrons and photons from that particular object. That we call it as a corona discharge. When the discharge is there, that needs to be captured onto something. And there is a plate here, what we call it as a photographic film. And there is a glass below that, and there is a metal conductive plate. So it completes the circuit. You pass a current onto the object, it discharges all the electrons, photons which are accumulated in the object. That when it discharges into the environment or outside, it creates something which is flashy or which has got light because it is photons. That we call it as a corona discharge. And now that particular light, that photograph is captured onto a particular film. This is called as a simple as a Kirlian photograph of an object. So please understand here the corona discharge. The electrons and photons which are already there in the object, they are stimulated and they are discharged. They produce some sort of a light phenomenon which is captured onto a light. Now, coming to the next part. Now, I mean, a lot of research has shown, I have mentioned here that most of, not all, any biological aspects, it can be plants, blood, human skin, do emit the photons, and it varies also based on the physiological state of the organism or the humans. So once we call it as a physiological state or the metabolic state of that organism, then obviously it depends on the internal state. The internal state which is again governed primarily by the CNS or the autonomic nervous system. Now, what I am showing here is just an artistic pictorial depiction. It is not the original photo. Probably what is seen here, these are the biophotons or the electrons which are emitted. Okay, now coming to this Buyable camera. I'll be showing you this Buyable camera here on my video. What you are seeing here is a small box, right? This is a Buyable camera box. Now, this we have imported from, it's a Russian invention by name Dr. Korotkov, over 20 to 25 years of experience. They have designed this and patented this technology, gas discharge visualization, GDV technology, which is based on Kirlian photography. Now, this is a camera box. This is basically to photograph the fingers, all the 10 fingers. What you see here is an aperture. And after calibrating this machine, this is connected to the laptop which I'm using now. All the data which is collected, once we place this finger here in this particular aperture, it's a dark chamber inside, has got a glass inside, and it gives a short brief pulse. When that brief pulse of high voltage, very low amperes, doesn't got any injury, we place each finger, all the 10 fingers are photographed through this, which is a simple click onto your laptop. That data, that film which is captured in this box, camera box, is fed into a software which is designed by this particular company, Buyable, and it gives an analysis. So this is the Buyable camera which we are utilizing. I don't call myself an expert because we just brought it around 3 to 6 months back, and I'm just still a learner and a student of it. I'm trying to share my experience, little bit of experience in what we have. And so what you are seeing on my PPT It's an analysis of the electrophotonic. Already I told you electrons and photons are emitted by our fingers now. And so that's what I have written here. Weak electric current is applied to the fingertips for less than a millisecond. Once you apply that high voltage and then high frequency, very low amperes of current, a brief pulse of current, all the photons and electrons are extracted from that finger. It creates an electron cloud that is captured onto a camera. Then it is fed into a software which gives us an analysis. So this is very briefly about that. Now, basically to say, this shows us what is the energy level of that particular person, totality, and also about the energy level in the each organs. Now, the next part, I mean, how are they able to analyze this just by taking a finger photographs? As per this Buyable company and with the evidences they have generated for the past 20 to 25 years, the fingers are connected to the different organs and systems. I mean, the Ayurvedic people know it very well through this Chinese traditional medicine. Based on this concept, in Germany, Dr. Wohl and Dr. Mandel, they have validated these things. And then Dr. Korotkov, who is the founder of this Buyable, has generated a lot of evidences to show that it is correlated very closely with the finger photographs to the organs and systems. Okay, that's what I have also again repeated here. So any changes in this particular photograph we take, that is the energy photograph, is an indicator of an abnormality of the internal system. That means of our body, the energy supply of the organs and the systems, which are again controlled by the autonomic nervous system and the central nervous system. Okay, this is the actual photograph you are seeing here. On the right side of your screen is a Buyable camera box, wherein the fingers are inserted in a particular way, in a particular procedures, and then it is connected to the laptop to a software. And then if you see on the screen over here, these are the actual photographs which are being taken. Now, the chakras, which are more closely related to Ayurvedic concepts, even the chakra analysis are being done here. And then this is the energy field parameters of the organs and systems. Okay. Now, I'm just going on to move to my clinical practice, how we are utilizing it with few case studies so that we were able to understand it better. As I told earlier, we are trying to collect the maximum data from the clientele so that we are able to treat him better. Now we are being, we are utilizing it at two levels. One is at the diagnostic level, the other is at the therapeutic level, right? Now at the diagnostic level, obviously when a patient comes to me saying that he has got a headache. Now once I say he's come to me with an headache, then he gives a whole lot of information to me. I do the examinations and the investigations, but still it is incomplete. There are few things the person might not have told us. I'll show you some case studies later on wherein they have skipped telling us something which is major for us to diagnose, but we were able to pick it up onto this through this Buyable camera. That means to say it gives us an holistic view of the clientele, that is at the diagnostic level. Now coming to the therapeutic level, say we are measuring the energy as I told you earlier. Now it gives an objective evidence of change. Whatever interventions I am doing, either it is through medications, through our allopathic practice, or it can be counseling, or it can be any Ayurvedic treatment, or it can be panchakarmas, meditation, or it can be nature work, or it can be simple, the dietary changes which we suggest, or the lifestyle modifications, any of the therapeutic interventions which are going to do, including music, these changes can be seen. That's how I'm going to show you next some case studies. So we are utilizing this Buyable device at two levels. One is at the diagnostic, at the therapeutic level. Okay. Now I'm just going to show you a few case studies. I'm going to take another 10 minutes. Is it okay, so Dr. Jayesh? Do you have the time?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. You can
Okay,
take your time.
Thank you. Thank you. What you're seeing on my screen, I think my screen is visible.
Yeah, the slide is visible. PPT is visible.
PPT? No, I want to
PowerPoint
share.
slide.
No, can I
Sir, you
share
need
my
to
other?
stop it and reset in case if you are.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
now again set.
Right. Thank you, Jayesh. I think, is it visible, the other screen? Dr. Jayesh?
Yeah, now it's visible. Visible, sir.
You're able to see the energy diagram?
Yeah, we are able to
Okay,
see.
thank you.
Continue, sir.
Thank you. Now, yeah, I'll be just showing you across this the software analysis part. Okay. Now, I'll be showing you the exact photograph, how it is going to look. I think it is visible to everybody here. Now, this is the actual photograph. Now, what you see, this black line is the outline, the physical outline of our fingers. And what you see here is a glow. That means when you pass on a brief pulse of a current high voltage, very low ampere, when you pass it on, then there is a surge of electrons and photons away from the finger. And then that surge of electrons and photons creates a corona effect, and this is photograph. And if you can see these red vectors, I mean the lines are drawn, these are the different vectors. As per the Chinese traditional system, this each vector is again related to one of the fingers. For example, I am telling to you about the cortex. Now this particular area of the finger is related to the cortex. That's how they are going to determine. So this is the original photograph what we are seeing. Now, so this is all the sectors. Now, this is just a graphic representation of the photograph, but this is the original photograph. Okay. Now, we get back, and these are the 10 fingers what you are going to see, starting from the right thumb, that's on the top of your screen, that's the right hand, and then we have got the left hand. This is how we are going to, photograph each finger, and then see whether it is accurately done or not. Then we go to the analysis part. Now, please understand that Buyable device, or what we are determining the energy level of the person, is not, it's not a thing which is going to give you a diagnosis. It is just going to give us a picture, and it depends on our interpretation. Therefore, clinical correlation is very much of importance, because there are a lot of other factors which can alter these energy levels, and we can't go by the face value of it. We have to clinically correlate with our clinical impression with the clinical data we have already in hand. Therefore, please remember, these are not diagnostic. This is just going to give me a data so that I can understand my client better in a deeper way. So therefore, now we come to the analysis part. What you see here is a, okay. Now I'm going to take one patient by name Aditya, right? Okay. This is about Aditya. Now, this is the energy field. I'll just glance across all the parameters, and then we'll come to the case proper. Okay. Okay, right. Now, this is the energy field. Please remember, this is not an aura. This is a graphical representation of the data which has been collected, which is shown graphically, digitally over here on the screen. But it looks typically like an aura to us, but this is not the actual aura. Now, this is the front view, and then on the sides view. This is about the energy. Here it is going to show the energy levels of 64 joules of this person, and the balance is 100%. We go to the next chakras. Now, these are the chakras which you are going to see. Now, I mean, you people know much very well than us. I'm just a beginner in this. And these are the chakras, all the 7 chakras which are going to see on this screen. And there are, they have indicated a green band over here. If it is within this limit, obviously, which is a normalcy. If it goes beyond that, yes, it is borderline. And anyway, beyond that, what they've shown it in violet color, definitely there is something like an abnormality. So this is about the chakras. And if you want to see a balanced view, yes, even that option is available. See, these graphical representations are very important to us to convince our patients. That's the main thing, you see and believe. That's the concept in the public here. Therefore, you need to show things and say that, see, this is what is happening to you. But at the same time, we need to clinically correlate and see what is going to happen next. So this is about the chakras. And if it is shifted onto the right side of your screen, then it indicates a different thing. If shifted onto the left, it indicates different things that I will show it later. And coming to the next is the analysis, wherein we are more concerned as psychiatrists. What you see here is the bar, the horizontal bars that is related to stress. Now, many patients who come to us, I'll show you case studies later on, they don't, agree and say that they don't accept that I have got tensions. There's a lot of stigma attached coming to a psychiatrist. They have a lot of stigma. Therefore, I need to tell them, see, you got stress. And they say, is it seen in me? How can you say that? So that's how we can show our evidence here of this person. Definitely this is a case study, but here you can see that it is in the optimal range. So that's a bar which is indicating here. Next, coming to the next level, it is the energy. So optimal, please remember about homeostasis. The more the energy, the more healthy you are. No, it has to be in a particular bandwidth. That's the norms we follow in any of our parameters, biological parameters. Hemoglobin something between 10 to 14 and sugars between 80 to 120. Therefore, on similar lines, 40 to 70 is the optimal range for energy. Anything more than that can indicate inflammation or any cancerous changes. Anything less than that can indicate, a depression or any other problems going elsewhere. Now, this is a balance. What we are seeing here is the third bar. This is a balance between the organs balance. Almost the organs are balanced optimally. Then there is again the organ balance which is shown here. So we come to the next thing is yin and yang, and this is more related to the acupuncturist. I have got very poor knowledge about this. But anyway, these are the energy meridians, and probably any of the you people practicing acupuncture might be very useful because the points are shown here, and then what is less, what is more also are indicated here. For example, the liver in this person is 7.25. It is supposed to be between 4 to 6. The meridians are shown, and after correction through acupuncture, probably the changes also can be seen. Now coming to the other things, what we call it as an area diagram of this person. Now this indicates the energy of this each organ. It is shown across in a global way. Now this is supposed to be, whatever diagram you are seeing, supposed to be within that green bandwidth. Lesser on the pinker side, on the inside very low, and more on the outside it's very high. As I told you, more the energy, probably more the inflammation, less the energy, probably some other disease. It has to be in this particular green zone. There are some peaks, for example, this person on the sacrum, and so this is where it is shown. The energy level is 8.75. That means it is much more higher. It should have been somewhere between 4 to 6. So this is about the area diagram. Then we have the energy diagram. This basically shows about the energy reserve. Now, many times we don't have that capacity or the backup or the compliance or the stability or the sustainability. We call it as a reserve, energy reserve. So of this person, does he have this energy reserve? And that it should be much more than this area diagram. What you see here in a brownish way inside circle, inside diagram is about the energy of the person, and whereas these are the reserves. Then we go to the next level. Then we have this different balance. Several, almost 8 to 10 parameters are available. This is a balance of the different organs. I don't have time, but they just glance through almost 32 organs, which shows the parasympathetic and the parasympathetic in the changes. I think in Ayurveda we have Ida and Pingala. Any imbalance in that in the organs also can be shown here, right? And then we have next we go to another important thing, what is called as an organs energy, right? So here you see on your right screen, boxes are given. If it is 4 to 6, then it shows a green depiction, that's normal. If it's something higher, then it goes towards more of the yellowish, or less it goes towards more of this. That's what you can see here. Urogenital, it's much more higher, 7. So something probably is wrong. Now, before I go ahead, just a simple, I just need to tell here, see, whatever changes we see here in the energy level doesn't indicate that the person always has a recognizable physical illness. Please remember this. There is something called as a predictive medicine. Something related, something like astrology, medical astrology, something called as a predictive medicine, wherein, what the concept here is, first there is a changes at the energy level, then there are changes at the thought at the emotional level, then there are changes at the endocrinal level, then there are changes at the physical level. That we call it as psycho, neuro, endo, immunology, or the physical changes. So the whole thing, starting from the energy changes at the energy matrix and then going on to the physical changes, might take in something around 6 months to 1 year time. That's the concept they have. And so therefore, when we see any changes in a particular person, it means it can meet either ways. Either there is already a physical deformity there, or the person can have a disturbances later on to be recognized physically later on after 6 months to 12 months. So that means to say it is preventive medicine. When I say that, yes, this person, I'll show you some cases that a 35-year-old person coming up with, we'll come to the cases now. We don't have time. Now we have, few cases of, see what I'm showing here is Aditya. One case, see the confidentiality has been hidden here. These are not the true names. Now this person, Aditya, a 25-year-old male coming to us with a panic disorder, right? And he presented with panic, saying that he has got palpitation, breathlessness, the typical panic attacks, but we still had, yeah. Hello? I'm unable to hear Dr. Pawan?
Yes, sir. So it's audible.
Right. Should I continue, Dr. Jayesh?
Yeah, sir. Sir, you can take few minutes and conclude.
Yeah, right. I
Yes,
think
sir.
Dr. Pawan wants to put across some things. Hello. No. Okay. Hello.
No.
Jayesh, I will continue. Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir.
All right.
Continue.
I'll just rush through. I think we are falling short of time. Aditya, he presented with us with typical panic disorder, but we were not sure because we wanted to rule out organicity. So when we took a energy diagram of this person, this is how it looked. What you need to look at here is this particular where I am showing my pointer on the screen. I think my screen is visible. So you can see that the energy depiction is changed over there. It is broken. All right. So that's what we see here. And this is related to the coronary vessels. Now, once we start looking at his chakras also, you can see how the chakras are impaired. Probably the heart chakra is definitely deviated. The whole of deviation across all the chakras. So then we sent him across for additional studies. Yes, he was sent for ECG and also for a treadmill, even though he was hardly around 25-30 years. There is a strong family history of ischemic heart disease in his family. And even though we are not able to detect totally, but we did suggest him that what changes he has to undergo. And we come to the next case. That means to say this case is depictive Aditya, but the person not giving us the proper history, but we are able to detect it. Okay, next we come to another case by name Teja. Again, he is a case of 20-year-old female coming up with a case of OCD. Anyway, here the patient did not reveal us much. Then we did an energy scan to him, and we were able to detect, if we're able to see here, this is related to the back where the energy flow is much more. And then when we started asking this particular person, he said that he had a fall earlier and then he continues to have low backache. That means the history is not being given properly because they were unable to remember it, felt that it was not relevant, but we were able to pick it up onto the screen. What you can see here in the full screen that the basal chakra has shifted again. Now we come to the next case by another person, a female coming with, she's 45-year-old and she lost her husband recently for COVID. And she was not, if you can look at this energy pictorial depiction, then it is not so typical what we saw earlier in the first case. A lot of it is broken. Energy level is somewhere around 55, balance is definitely less. She was undergoing a grief reaction where she did have depression, was unable to put it across to us. She was in a denial mode. But once we did the chakras, what you can see here is the heart chakra, which has shifted a lot. And definitely there was a lot of emotionally she was suffering. We were able to diagnose it and then put it across to her into counseling. Now we come to three more slides. I'm going to take another 5 minutes. Now, what are the changes? The second thing is, can we show the objective changes to the patient? Okay. Now, we have a patient by name Chidananda who is 45-year-old. Now, I am going to compare and show it here. Okay, I think you are able to see the screen. Now, he is a 45-year-old male coming to us with depression, and on the left of your screen, we have done it on 2nd of July, and this is how his particular energy figure showed. You can see a lot of broken lines over here. Now, after about 21 days of therapies, definitely there is a change in him. Same thing if you are able to look at the chakras. Okay, right. This was his on the left of your screen is before treatment, on the right is after treatment. Okay. Now we go to the next case by name Devamma. And again, she is 45-year-old female who has come to us with menopause symptoms. And definitely it's a case of moderate depression, right? I'm going to show that. Just a minute. Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Just a minute. Just open up my. Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Sir, it's not visible. Please share it.
Okay. All right. Is it visible now, Jayesh?
Still not, sir.
Now?
Uh, yeah,
Visible?
now it's visible. It's
Okay. I'm
visible.
going to the
Okay, sir.
next case wherein we are going to show objectively what are the changes. So we have an option here in the software where we can compare the results. So as I'm clicking here on my left side, you can compare here. So this lady, 42-year-old, came to us with depression. And this what you are seeing here again on the left side before treatment, and here on the right side after treatment, done after 2 months with holistic treatment. This is our energy diagram. We go to the chakras. Again, you can see these changes over here, right? And the last case which I'm going to share. Okay, yes. Now, this patient, Mr. M, has again come with, a lot of acute, what we call it as acute psychotic reaction, because it started after a stress. Now, after treatment, definitely it was with our allopathic medications along with, nature cure and these sort of things. You can see the changes onto the right and the left, the changes what you are going to see. Then the chakras, which were much more disturbed earlier, and how they got aligned later. So these are a few examples I was trying to show here to depict how we can bring about changes and show the changes in our clinical practice. All right. Hello.
Yes, sir.
I think my screen is visible, Jayesh, the PPT.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Right, right. Anyway, now yeah, we started with this objective of, I'm coming back to that objective of enriching our client-centered clinical practice. So this is our short experience we have with Killian photography in our day-to-day practice. But I'll just put across my challenges and then conclude over there. Now, since I am an MBBS graduate with the MD in psychiatry from Manipal, when I do these sort of studies and then show to my own colleagues, I'm telling about my MBBS colleagues, definitely they do question me, are you practicing pseudoscience? Now, that is one of my biggest challenges, not from the patients, but from my own colleagues. But I do answer them in a different way, saying that when I'm helping my patient and I'm not harming them, there's no problem as far as that. That's one challenge we have. The second challenge is how you put across the language you utilize or the communication, how you put it across to the patients in an understandable way. That's another challenge we have, because the clientele we get here is of an urban based, of rural based and semi-urban. So that is another second challenge we have. And then the third challenge we have is integrating this data in our day-to-day practice. We have this 20 years experience of practicing integrative mental health. And now the clientele have got confidence in us, saying that yes, whatever you do definitely is going to help us. The fourth challenge is the cost part. Since it is something new, and then we can't just go on a high price. So we are making it more accessible to the patients. My sincere advice, or my experience is, if we start something which low, we don't go a premium for that, all that investigations, very basic. We charge hardly around 200 to 300 rupees for this whole thing. In some centers, they charge around 1,000, 2,000 for this Buyable. But we make it more accessible to treatment, and then show them what are the changes. So with these challenges which we have faced, and with my short experience, thank you all for your silent hearing. Dr. Jayesh, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. It was really and indeed a new experience to know about psychiatry and energy changes and through BioWell. So we are really grateful to you. The medical science has lots of scope and to explore in photography. So from the first presentation, from the seen to the next presentation to unseen, we have had a varied experience. Now moving on to our third presentation of the day, and we have with us very renowned Ayurvedic practitioner, Dr. Guheswar B. Patil, sir. Dr. Guheswar B. Patil, sir, is professor in Swastavritta from SSAMC Medical College, Haveri, Karnataka. Sir is BMS, MD, and PhD. Sir has a working experience of teaching in UG 14 years, PG teaching 8 years. Sir have guided number of PG candidates. Sir have publications of 11 research papers in international journals. And as attractive as Ayurvedic career, Sir has a attractive achievement in photography also. To brief, Sir have been in photography since 24 years. Sir has delivered talks in different places of Karnataka, addressing studio photographer about the basic principles of photography. Sir has conducted workshop in medical photography in KLE Medical College, Belgaum. Sir has conducted workshops on Ayurvedic medical photography in International UNCON conference at Hassan. Sir has conducted workshop in Rasasastra in Sri Sri College of Ayurvedic Science, Bangalore. Sir has delivered regular talks on medical photography for the PG students of Kopal Ayurvedic Medical College. And he have conducted one state level photography competition in Haveri 2017. So it's a very interesting to see Sir's achievement in photography, and we are excited to see the unseen from Sir. Sir, you're welcome. The dash is yours. Sir, we cannot hear you. Dr. Guheswar, sir. Uh, Dr. Patil, sir, your voice is not audible. Dr. Pavan, sir, unmute yourself.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Sir, voice is feeble. Can you increase the sound in your system or use a headphone?
It's not possible here from here.
Uh,
He is unmuted.
Dr. Guheswar, sir.
Kindly unmute yourself and yes, you are unmuted. But your mic, please check your microphone. Which microphone is selected? No voice.
ಸಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇಯರ್ಫೋನ್ ಕೊಡು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಬೇಗ ಒನ್ ಮಿನಿಟ್ ಸರ್
Yeah, it's okay, sir. Take your time. So we have made you presenter also. Sir, I think there is a problem with your sound system.
ಹಲೋ ಹಲೋ
Yes, now it's audible. Now it's
Hello?
audible. Perfectly audible. Sir, we can hear you, Dr. Patil, sir. No, sir.
In the meantime, I would like to welcome Dr. Sudhir Bhagaji from Tennis, USA. Welcome, sir.
Ji Pranam. Thank you for joining us from America. I hope while Patel ji is setting his system up, we would like Pavan ji, with your permission.
Just one kindly rejoin, Dr. Goyeswar ji. Kindly rejoin. I hope system will be okay. No voice is coming. Kindly rejoin. Yes, sir. Professor, sir. Yes. Please proceed. Please proceed.
नहीं जी, आवाज नहीं आ रहा, पवन जी.
I hope in the meantime we can call Dr. Sudhir Bhagaji for his blessings.
Sudhirji, namaskar. Please share a few words. You have joined us. You are Sudhirji did his. He's a graduate of Maulana Azad Medical College in New Delhi, and he has worked here in the UK. And he was in charge of the Integrative Medicine Center in University of California, Los Angeles, and now works in Tennessee in America. Sudhirji is very interested in this integrating systems of medicine, and I think today's presentation by our two speakers, Ajayanji and also
Ajay Kumarji.
Ajay Kumarji, and particularly that energy thing about chakras and nadis and all these things. Sudhirji is very passionate about this and connecting it with modern physiology. So thank you, Sudhirji, for joining us today from America. Ajay, Dr. Ajay Kumar studied in Manipal. Namaskar ji, Ajay ji. We are very happy that you gave us a very detailed insight into the BioWell system and how you are using it every day. Sudhirji is interested in using many such technologies, particularly heart rate variability, etc., to understand the human physiology in health and disease. And Ajayji, thank you so much for being very frank about your difficulty in convincing your contemporary modern medicine physicians about the benefit that you have. I think Sudhirji also has this experience in America. It's a global problem. I wait to see if Patelji's system is back online. Patelji, namaskar. नहीं जी, आपका आवाज नहीं आ रहा. I think, as Pavanji says, maybe you have to join again, reboot, rejoin our system, maybe it will come through correctly. And while Patelji is rejoining, I think Sudhirji can take us through this difficulty that we have in contemporary medicine, where there is a difficulty they face in accepting these kind of technologies, which may be the future of medicine, as we go into prevention, health promotive, preventive, personalized medicine. These are technologies that we need rapid assessment of health status and also outcome measures. Sudhirji is an expert in this. Being in America, he sees some of these challenges. Sudhirji, I also want to say Sudhirji's father was professor of physiology in New Delhi. So he comes from a long tradition of physicians and professor of physiology in Lady Hardinge Medical College. And Sudhirji continues the tradition, but he wants to see our traditional systems come into this mixture. So Sudhirji, all yours. Thank you so much for joining. Very early morning in America, but thank you so much for joining us. All yours. Please share your thoughts, Ji.
Thank you, Mother. Basically, I was able to see portions of what Dr. Ajay had presented. And I have known about this cranial photography. Some centers in Delhi were doing it. And the relationship, it will be wonderful if Dr. Ajay can correlate, because he's doing practice I am also a Manipal student, by the way, Dr. Ajay, Kasturba Medical College, many, many moons ago. And it will be wonderful for combining this information, what you had, with the cranial photography, as well as the relationship of clinical symptoms and clinical diagnosis to these photographic changes you can see. It will be great if we could correlate the same patient, like your patient Aditya or others, 3 or 4 you presented, either them or others, could correlate the cranial photography and the heart rate variability at the same time. So if we could correlate that, that would enhance the understanding of other physicians, and I'm talking about the allopathic physicians, I'm not doing the others. I mean, even others also, actually, because everybody has some visors on. So that might help, because heart rate variability is something, the reason why I I'm passionate about heart rate variability is because at least there is a bridging between the allopathic medical system mindset and the other scientists of the world. And I'm using it a very loose terminology because we physicians understand heart rate variability, we understand cardiac cycles, we understand this. So relationship of Ida, Pingala, and Sushman, relationship of Vata, Pitta, Kapha, or the 12 body meridians of Chinese system to the heart rate variability is easier attainable, and also because everybody is wearing these wristwatches or bands. So because of that, it would be wonderful if we could correlate, because once we correlate, then it might be easier, because first we have to explain what heart rate variability and relationship is. It itself is a challenge, I know that. But Crillian goes into energy fields and it's beyond that. But if we can correlate at least these two, then we are one step closer. And my passion is bridging the gap between all the other medical systems and our scientifically validated, so to speak. It's not nearly as validated as we used to think. Only 30% of what we practice as physicians is validated. 70% is still what we think, and others, doctors and others do, and we practice the same. And COVID makes it very interesting to actually validate that. So I think because you already have this BioWell, I think if you could, and it's not very complicated, if you could get download Vita Pulse and Vita Energy, and these are Google Play Store thing, and this is some Russian 16 years old had done that. It's very preliminary, but if you could download that onto your phone and then have this person put this finger on and do these 2 to 5 minutes. 2 minutes is free and 5 minutes is like 200 rupees or something, one-time fee, not permanent, not periodic. So that can correlate the ratios of the heart rate variability.
Sudhirji, we'll come back to this.
Yeah,
I can
that's fine.
see Dr. Patel ji
Right.
is here with us. I would just want to test whether Patel ji's microphone is all right. Dr. Patel, namaskar. नहीं जी, आ नहीं रहा आपका आवाज.
नमस्कार अभी.
Sudhirji, we'll come back to you because I also would like to bring Ajay Sadanandji because he comes from a long tradition of Marma Chikitsa people and understanding nadis and chakras, and I want to see if we can.
आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है गोयेश्वर की. आप म्यूट हैं. Something is wrong in your audio system, I hope.
Hello. Hello.
You can check without any headphone.
Sudhirji, which year were you in Manipal? This is a surprise for me too.
I was there in 1969.
69.
1969. I still remember so vividly that time I spent before I moved to Maulana Azad Medical College and I did my medicine there.
Hello.
This was because in my practice, everybody needed to be, as you know, I'm the 54th doctor in my family is a doctor. So everybody has to be a doctor, one way or the other. So it is a wonderful thing. And I went there again and I would love to meet Dr. Ajay. Are you still practicing in Manipal, Dr. Ajay?
Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Sir, I finished my MD psychiatry from Manipal in 2002, and I'm practicing 300 kilometers away from Manipal. It's called as Hospet in Karnataka.
Hospet.
Yes, sir. I'm still practicing here in Hospet, sir. Okay, great. Because, maybe Madan, you can coordinate that with Mangalore. Dr. Adhikari in Mangalore is trying to do some integrative things, and Mangalore must be close to where Ajay is, because I'm planning to, God willing, come and visit sometimes in October, November, COVID dependent. But that would be great. That would be great if that Ajay could correlate by downloading that heart rate variability and then play with it, just like you've done with Crillian. Have your patients do that. That's what my recommendation is.
Yes, yes, we'll do it. Sir.
Patel, are you
Yes, sir.
I think
connected?
सुनाई पड़ रहा है ना?
yes. Dr. Patil sir,
Sir, it is clear?
Dr. Patil sir, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Voice is little low. Can you increase the system sound?
Yes, sir, it's a system sound.
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
Yes, yes, sir. You can share the screen also.
yes,
And respected delegates, will continue our discussion in the end of the session. We have Dr. Guheswar Patil sir with us. He will be beginning his presentation now. Sir, please share your slides.
okay, sir.
Open the PPT and share the screen.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, already opened.
And little louder, please, so everybody
Okay.
can hear properly. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Yes, sir.
Sir, please share. Yeah, it's visible. So please put in full screen mode
Yes,
and
sir.
you can start the presentation. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Ajayan sir. Especially Jayesh Thakur sir, Pawan
Yes.
Kumar sir, Ajayan sir, and Ajay sir. Actually, in previous two presentations, what you told, it is about the inner part of the photography. After taking photography, how to utilize the photos and all. But basic things I am going to tell how to take the photos. As per in Ayurveda, many departments are there. Depending upon the departments, how we have to take the photos. Just I will say one our Acharya Charika's word, that is he's saying that whatever we are seeing in the naked eye, it is not, it is very small. Behind that, many things are there we are not seeing. Then for to see all those things, we are nowadays we are developed in many technological with the instruments. So by utilizing that one, we can expand widespread our prataksha pramana. That is so. And I move towards the photography. Everyone know what is photography. In that, two words are there, that is photo and the graphy, where we are using the light to do the paint, yeah, to the graph. That is called, we are called as a photography. Photography is an art actually, and it's also a science. In the 10 years back, it's an art, because whenever we are going for the photography, that time there is no technology, just we are using the some films to shoot the photos there. We have to know the basic things. But nowadays it is become very easiest because of the science. And if you know the science properly, then you can utilize the photography very easily in different ways. Medical photography, it is a specialized unit.
To Patil, sir.
A specialized unit where we are using the photos. We are taking the photos for the from the for the medical, yeah, clinical presentation, yeah, patients, yeah, medical and surgical procedures, medical devices, and the specimen for autopsy. And need of medical photography for the documentation purpose, we are using the photos. research, a clinical and experimental research in that we are using. For the publication purpose also we are using, and to publish the articles in the journals, to get good effect we are using the photos, medical photos. And lastly, for the students as a teaching tool, we are using the photography. And purpose of photography in that we are saying that Ati Sannikarshat, Ati Viprakarshat, Avarnat, Karna Daurbalyat, Mano Anavasthanat, Samanabhiharat, and Abhibhavat, Ati Sannikarshat. These are all the things where we are using the other materials to get the pratyaksha. These are the pratyaksha bhadaka bhavas. To avoid the bhadaka, we are using the different type of instruments, like if the ati sannikarshat, if you are not, the object is very close to indriya and it is very minute, then we are using the macro lens like that. So I explain in the next slide. So that purpose also we are different cameras are there to reduce the bhadakara bhavas. Here nowadays we are using the compact digital cameras. Before that digital SLR cameras are there. Nowadays a new thing is coming, that is mirrorless cameras, action camera. Whenever we are going for the outside, outside that time the action cameras we are using, and for the security purpose we are using the 360 cameras, and the old, that is the film cameras we are using. Depending upon that, even though reduce the bhadakara bhavas, we are having the wide angle, normal angle lens, macro lens, and the zoom lenses are also here. By using this one, we can take the best photos of the medical field, especially Ayurveda. These are the different photos, how to hold the camera. These are the slides where for to teach the students about the cameras. Here, some of the main things we have to understand, that is the exposure triangle, that is it is having the shutter speed, aperture, ISO. In medical photography nowadays, many students are using the high resolution cameras, mobiles, but the high resolution mobiles are like a auto gear cars, like a auto gear cars, but the SLR cameras like a gear cars, old gear cars, because whenever we want to speed very fastly, that we have to put the gear for the first one. But in the auto car, it is not like that. We have to accelerate, we have to put the pressure on the accelerator. It runs, but better we have to gear cars. In that, in photography also, the SLR cameras are very good to take the best photos, because we are having the some choice like shutter speed. These are the improper shutter speed if you are using, and aperture, proper aperture you have to use, and the last one ISO. If you are using these three triangles in the proper way, then only we are getting the very good photos. And many modes are there in the cameras, like mode P, mode S, mode A, mode M. Many, and exposure composition is there to decrease or increase the light of the camera, light of the photo, and exposure indicators also to maintain the lighting, and lighting. And these are the main basic things where they are in the digital cameras, but not in the mobiles and all. So I recommend the students, persons who are taking the medical photographs, they have to use the best pixel, best cameras, SLR cameras. Type of in medical photography, mainly I divide in this one. Actually, in Ayurveda, indoor and outdoor photographs we are getting. So as Ajay sir showed all the outdoor photographs. Even though the Dravya Guna photos also we are taking in the indoor also. So we are dividing the medical photography, especially Ayurvedic medical photography in two ways, that is indoor and outdoor. Common instruments we are using, that is the camera which having more than 24 megapixel, ring flash, normal flash, different of lenses, reflectors, tripods, and for the studio purpose, for every department there must be, if the college is having the PG center or PhD center, then compulsorily they have the one best studio which is having the spotlights, and minimum length of that one is 10 into 8 feet size, and the minimum lenses like the 50 lens and the for 24 megapixel cameras. These are the sum. In that, particularly if you are going for the Shalya Tantra department, there we are using the many type of lenses like normal lens 50 lenses and the macro lenses we are using, and the camera which is more than 24 megapixel. In that, compulsorily we have to use the measuring scale, get proper measurement, yeah, to get the knowledge of size of the wound, yeah, whatever it may be, and the camera more than that, the ring flash, same thing repeating. Patients like deformity showing photos, we have to take the photos in the proper background, plain background compulsorily. First, we have to take the, in Shalya, especially in Shalya, we have to take the photo of the deformity, and then the surgery and the post-operative photograph. These are the main three things we have to take in the surgical. These are not the photos I taken. This is from the downloaded material. And studio photography also, we are taking many photos in the studios, surgical photographs, and the indoor, like in the operation theater. In that operation theater, many illuminators are there. By using the illuminators, by using the exposure indicator, we have to take the photos, and these are the how to take photo. And the wound, in the wound photography protocol, boss, whatever the things are going on, first we have to cut the cover and wash the wound and clean that one, and after that we have to go with the very particular angle photograph, and we have to download the photos. These are the wound photography protocol. Then lighting is very important. If you are using the daylight for the wound photography, natural light is very important, because we are getting the very natural colors in that. And the studio light, if you are using the studio light, you have to manage some white balance and also balance. And if you are using the flash, always you have to reduce the shadows of that one, in the especially in the wound photography. And the position is very important. Actually, the size of the wound, the depth of the wound, to know that the position is very important. And this one is the angle, different angle. If you are taken in the angle, that is two type of photos are there. Shadows, like that, if you are taking in the proper background, we will get the very good result. Backgrounds and stability is very important. If the light is very less, then if you are taking the photos, sometimes the blurring is going on. So to reduce that blur, we have to use the tripods. These are the two photos. First one is without the tripod, where we are the blurring is there. With the tripod, we get the very good result. And the consistency before and after treatment, to get the result, to show the result in the for the students, yeah, in the article. This is one is very important. To have to consistency is very important. And here the second one, before treatment and after the treatment. The composition, in that first you have to take the wound measuring scale and the background. These are the three things you have to. Here the background is not so good, and the measuring scale, you have to use the measuring scale for every wound photography, where we have to show the before and after treatment. I will move. Boxing. There is minimum 3 photos you have to take in the wound photography. Yeah, any photography. In the deep wound photography, we have to give the proper lighting. And in the next, I will move towards the Kaya Chikitsa department. Here we are. Here also we are using the measuring scale to show the skin wounds, skin changes before and after treatment. For that, we have to use the scale. These are the some other photos. To jaundice, the especially the photograph must be taken in the daylight. Varicose vein, one side photography, yeah, we have to make some shadows, otherwise we are not get the varicose vein properly. If we are doing the shadows photography, then only we are getting. That is one side photography. To in the rheumatoid arthritis also, we have to give some shadows, otherwise if not get the shadows, we are not get the deformities. Just here also, osteoarthritis, the pimple, hair in the nails. And in the Shalakya Tantra nowadays, many adapters are there for the photography, especially in the oral photography. The ring flash is very important, and the macro lenses are we are using. And in ENT photography, endoscopies are there for that particular photography. These are the instruments. And in the olden days, when nowadays the ophthalmology instruments are improved, but in olden days the camera will be connected to the lens, and they are taking photos of the eye. Here also for the ear, we are using the many macro lenses. Scale, these are the oral photography. What the lens we have to use, what type of aperture we have to put, and what the shutter speed we have to, and which ISO we have to get the proper result. These are the things. Then I am moving towards our Ajayan Sir's department, that is Dravya Guna department. In that we are using the 2 types, that is indoor and outdoor photography, and wet and dry specimen photography. Depending upon the padartha of that, we are using the different type of lenses and the cameras. Outdoor photography, in outdoor photography, like trees and leaf, if we are taking that photo, we are using the of lenses, like a zoom lens we are using, like a tele lens we are using, and sometimes if the space is not there, we are using the wide angle lens also. And same in the herb shrubs and the creeps. Then in survey study, especially in the survey studies, in transient quadrant study, we are using some new things like wide angle lenses, and the camera which taken from the upper part of the from the upper part, yeah, from very in the height. So for that, wide angle is useful for that one. In wet and drag, we are using the light box, which is having covered with the height material, and the illuminator will be put on that one, and we are taking the photos of that. This is the illuminate light box. By using that one, we are get the very good photos. section study, wet and dry photography. Some macro lenses, the adapters are there. By using that adapter, we are getting the very good photos. And in outdoor photography, especially for transient and quadrant photography, we are using the drones, and especially in the survey studies, we are using the drones. This is the photo taken by me. These are the some micro photographs. This is the background photography. Backlight photography. This one is. This is also a backlight photography. This is the macro photography. This one also macro. This is the natural backlight photography. This one. If you are using the zoom lens and the aperture is very less, then we are getting the focus depth of field is only on this flower. The other flowers will get blur. Next, I will move towards the indoor and outdoor photography as Rashi Shastra and the Rashi Shastra. These are some procedures photographs. Here also we are using the illuminate light box. These are some photos of Rasa Shastra department materials. And I will move towards my subject Swastarutta. Here also we are doing the photography of indoor and outdoor. Entomology photography is very beautiful photography in my Swastarutta. And the cereals, pulses, fruits, vegetable, food photography. It's a very famous photography in many advertisements and in videos they are using. And the outdoor photography, oxidation of the water and the entomology. In that we are using the macro lens and the ring flashes. These are the some materials where we are using this material for the vegetable and fruit photography. These are the photos. Next, Agatha Tantra photography. It is also Agatha Tantra. Also, we are outdoor and indoor and outdoor. We are dividing. Medical. I conclude like that. Medical photography is a science conducted with the knowledge, art, and skill, which helps to study and develop all the disciplines of Ayurveda. These are some medical photography based photos. Rashi Shastra in that product photography. This one. Thank you,
Hello.
sir. Thank you, sir. Pawan Kumar, sir. Thank you for giving the opportunity. Sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Patil, sir, for a wonderful presentation. I can understand there was technical issue with the volume, but the slides and sir's expression were really made the picture colorful. And we are grateful to all of our three speakers. And now may I request our host, sir, Dr. Pawan Kumar Sharma, sir. Hello, Dr.
Hari
Pawan
Om.
sir.
Hari Om, Namaskar.
Huh.
Excellent
Sir.
presentation. These all presentations were a guideline for us because we are absolutely unaware of this science. Though we are using photography in hobby and fashion, but excellent, excellent. Right from Aura, right from Kirlian. So I would like to request Dr. Sudhir Bhagaji and Madan Thangveluji on the topic. Dr. Madan Thangveluji.
Ji Pranam. So, thank you for when Pavanji a few weeks when he said we're going to have this event, we had a brief chat and I didn't know how it will turn out, but here we are. We have three excellent presentations today, starting with Sadanandji and his perspectives on how you can capture images and how we can get some insights on the interaction between organisms and the environment and how we can use the very important concept from Charaka Samhita about the Logo Purusha Samya concept and how we can use that to understand the relationship between plants and the environment. And then to have Dr. Ajay Kumar follow on from where Ajayanji stopped on understanding some aspects, a non-invasive description of the subtle aspects of biology in health and disease and how it is being used effectively. So thanks to Ajayji for joining us then. And finally, thanks to Dr. Patelji. You have shown us how the standards of photo documentation needs to be a very important part of our education, the medical education. I think it's a very strong message you have given us with the few examples that you have. So thanks to all three speakers for joining us today and for giving us so much information to celebrate this very important day and to make it so consistent and so very tightly aligned with the disciplines. Now, I want to add one thought here, which is the comment that Ajayanji will be able to tell us a little more about Pratyaksham and Apratyaksha. And that is the spectrum we have covered today. Pratyaksham Alpam, Apratyaksham Bahutam. And this is that domain that we are trying to traverse. And I think the speakers today have shown us with great clarity how the areas of Pratyaksh and the many aspects of the relationships in the Pratyaksh can also be appreciated if we move into the Apratyaksh. So the Kirlian photographs that we have today is that domain of Apratyaksh, which cannot be seen, but can be seen if you bring in the new technologies. So thanks to Ajayanji. We also are very happy that you have shown us that link between the difficult areas of modern biology where Ayurveda, yoga can help bring things. But more importantly, you have also taken us into that small comment you made, that the difficulty, the challenges you face in your own community. You have studied modern medicine. You feel in your heart that there is something more that needs to be understood, particularly in this area of the psychological aspects, the psychiatric areas, where the relationship, the first few slides that you showed, the relationship on the bottom half of that circle that you showed, the connections that are there between the human being as a social animal, as a social being, and with the environment. And this is where our discussion, I hope, has matured today. My feeling is that we have, starting with photography, we have touched the two domains of Apratyaksha and Pratyaksha. And you have given us so much to think about today. And I'm very fortunate that we could tempt Dr. Sudhir Bhagat to join us from Tennessee in America. It is very, very early in the morning. Sudhirji wakes up at Brahma Muhurt every day, 4 o'clock, 4:30, he's awake. And also accidentally to know that he was connected with Kasturba Medical College in the early days, where Dr. Ajayan is. So I want to pass the microphone to Sudhir ji just to give us a few thoughts. And before I do that, I would like Ajayan ji to give us a few words and few ideas about that aprathyaksh aspect and how you connect it with the presentations today. You know, particularly the presentation by Ajay Kumar ji on the Krillian photography. How can we make this connection a little more formal between the nadis and the chakras and the concept of prana, the life force? How can we, I don't know what you teach to your students in Palakkad. I feel there is a wonderful marriage that can happen here. And I would just like a few words from you on how we can make that happen. And I also want to take this opportunity to invite both Dr. Ajayanji and Dr. Ajayji and also Dr. Patel to come and be part of some discussions that we have about pranas, chakras, nadis, and all these things, so that we can start to understand that domain better. I feel that domain needs to be understood. India's knowledge, the ancient knowledge system, is very strong in those areas. The Yoga Darshana, and also how Ayurveda, Siddha approaches that space. The Siddha understanding of how the energy flows in the body, starting with different phases of the moon and how it is understood. And I would love to hear from Ajayanji just a few words on how we can formalize this, because we are lucky to have physicians like Dr. Ajay here with us. And Ajayanji, you come from a very privileged family that has had many generations of understanding of the subtle science. You know, it'll be lovely to hear from you how we can take this forward in presence of Sudhirji, and then follow on from where Sudhirji would add a little bit. So thank you so much, Pavanji. Thank you, Vishnuji. Thank you, Thakurji, for making this wonderful event happen. Thank you so much. So I leave it to Ajayanji just to give us a little more on how you feel the future should be. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madan sir. Yes, life is one of the important and diverse thing in this universe. So when we see the basic character features of division of life by our Acharyas, we can see that there will be two types of lives that is existing. One is the Chedana Dravyam and another is the Achedana. So these Chedanam and Achedanam, and again this Chedanam, the life impulse, wherever it is there, that life is interacting with the surroundings and each and every minute things around that. If a single cell also, it is interacting with the response of the surroundings. So this Chedana Dravyam, Antas Chedanam and Bahirandas Chedanam, the two types are there. One is that will conserve all its energies and response within their self, and with their needs only they will do these response. So that is the plant kingdoms. And most of the small minute creatures, what we are nowadays discussing, they are having such type of a capacity to not waste the energy. What are the results or what the thing is needed, that only the response they will do. But if you look in the Bahiranda Chedanam, like human beings or the animals, they have wasting so much of energy by response and by doing the things and through indriyas and other things. So this make the plants and nature a special character features. So of course, we are living in an earth where there will be a planet which is having a balancing of heat and cold and other things. So the earth has having some natural law. So with this natural law, it's influenced by a heat thing, that is the sun and the moon as a sub-satellite. There will be some type of a balancing. Because of this balancing, we can see a diverse life in this earth. Especially such a type of balance is occurring in our equatorial line also. So the equatorial line will getting the balancing of the ultimate heat and cold. So the most versatile life species are occurring in the sea or in the land in that equatorial line. So similarly, if you look into our body itself, our body's middle part is the between the umbilicus and the chest. So that duodenum and the pancreas and that area, it's having a diversity of things. Nowadays, we know that there will be a gut floral things. So we body is also inside our body is also having a three predominant ecosystems. On a Kapha ecosystem, we can compare it to an Anuva Desham, and a middle ecosystem where there will be a Sadharana Desham, and in the Vayu ecosystem, we can compare it to a Jangala Desham. So where there will be more wind and other things. So like that, whatever the things that is existing externally, that will be existing internally also. So the influence of sun, moon, like predominant things will influence the life of the earth too. So the energy that is pervading and transferring to everyone's life, everyone's body, the power of impulse of that minute channel of prana, that will be existing in the plant in another level, and in our human body also it is existing in another level. Due to the environmental packing, the plants which is having a specific type of shape and size, the pattern of traveling of these impulses and life in a different way. And it will reaching at the height in the full moon days. In the same way, in our body also, a prana kala or amrita kala is transforming from the big toe through the nadis like Ida Pingala and Sushumna and reaching to the head and on the full moon day, and it will be staying for a particular time like that. So it is called as a prana kala. So when it is traveling through the particular areas, certain points are there where there will be an anatomically and physiologically sensitive towards the external environment. So that points we can consider as mama. As Dr. Ajay Kumar Sir has told that it's a very important thing that sometimes we are not able to perceive these things in a pratyaksha form, in a very easy form. So, but sages and great gurus can able to see these in perceive these hot and cold in a very particular manner. But nowadays, because of our improper correlations of our indriyas and sense organs, we are unable to perceive it. But by the modern techniques, surely we can able to perceive these things in another level, and we can concentrate the medicines to these particular vital anatomically and physiologically sensitive points. So by that, we can easily bring back that ecosystem, what it is hampered inside in a structural level and a functional level. So when we are putting a thalam on our head, why we are putting a thalam or these types of medications on the forehead? Because that is the area where the most predominant transformation of heat and cold is taking place. So once we want to calm out our inside heat and cold, we can influence through these particular things. So like that, it's a very important thing that such type of advancements can able to provide more insight on these types of concepts and things. So I think this is the thing that what the Sar has asked. Thank you.
Ajayanji, thank you so much. You have given us so much to think about in a few minutes. You have given us so many things to think about. What we need to spend more time with you, details, and we will connect with you. I'm also happy to see Professor Vincenzo Valenzi has joined us. He couldn't resist this. He is joining us from Florence in Italy. Vincenzo, hello. Thank you for joining us. Vincenzo is, so I'm taking too much time here. I want to share this back to JSG. JSG, I don't know how much time we have. This is an amazing discussion that's going on. Unexpected, but Ajayanji has given us a very, very good way to connect the Chaitanya Dravya and the Achetana Dravya. This is a very, 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 very subtle aspect of understanding that you have given us. You have shown us how to connect the phase of the moon and the phase of the sun with energy flow in the body, and these are all detectable with Kirlian photography. So I feel what we have unexpectedly opened up here in our discussion is quite amazing. I don't know how much time we have, whether we have time for feedback.
Like Skype, time has no limit for us, sir.
Thank
Please
you.
go ahead.
Thank
Please
you,
go ahead.
Pavanji. Thank you so much. I would like to invite, take Ajayji to add to what Ajayanji has just said, and how we can see. I feel if you use our Kirlian systems, we will be able to see the differences in energy flow in the body, and in terms of neurological and coordinates in terms of mental health, I am sure you will see a higher incidence of certain imbalances at certain times of the moon phase. And it is well known that there are some influences. Tomorrow is full moon day. Oh, sorry, on Sunday is full moon day. And as a clinician, I would love to hear the kind of things you notice when you are in clinical practice about the incidence of certain conditions. Professor Vincenzo Valenzi, who's joining us from Italy, he also has this experience of how people's health changes with the climate. And we are presenting a big paper at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal event in New York in September. I'll put the chat here for all of you to look at. Ajayan ji, please enlighten us on, as a modern medicine clinician, if you understand and understood all the subtleties provided by Ajayan ji, who's very eloquent in telling us about the Chaitanya Dravya and the Achetana Dravya and how they conserve energy and how they use energy and how energy flows in these systems.
Sir, with, in continuation with Dr. Ajayanji's discussion, in my clinical practice as a psychiatrist, we do see this variation, especially during the Amavasya and Hunimi, I mean that full moon and these days. And that's my personal experience. We see a lot of these cases, especially of cases related to acute psychosis. You say we have cases who have been treated and they have recovered, and on medications or off medication also, they tend to have these relapses or remissions during these days. So there is definitely a relation to what Ajayanji was telling. That's one thing. And the second thing about this Buyable, I couldn't show that because of lack of time. They have what is called as a biorhythms. One of the calculations they do in this software based on your date of birth. I don't have much knowledge about that. I think others should be able to enlighten on that. There is also an indication for it, wherein they see at 3 levels. One is your emotional ability, second is your intellectual ability, then your physical ability. And you can, once you feed in your correct date of birth, over a 30-day period, it's going to give us how your emotional, intellectual, and physical variation occurs across all the days. It's another biorhythms what we were talking about, right? And in clinical practice, what I feel is, application of these concepts into day-to-day practice, and which is understandable by the clients, and we are able to bring about a changes in their lifestyle. I think that is more important for us. That's the biggest challenge we have as of now. Sir.
Thank you. Ajayji, thank you so much. You have given us that one point, I want to see if Vincenzo Valenzi, Professor Valenzi wants to add a little bit, because the one case you presented about panic attack is very special. And Vincenzo in Florence, he sees many patients suffering from panic attack, and he is able to heal them using the logic of prana. He can heal people at a distance. Now, this might sound very strange, but it connects what Ajayanji has offered about how the energy flows, and this apratyaksh, the invisible, that invisible flow of energies. I don't know if Vincenzo wants to add anything. Vincenzo, ciao.
Ciao, madam.
Thank you for joining us today. And then I would like Sudhirji to join at some point. Vincenzo, ciao.
I hear for the very interesting presentation on Kirlian GDV of Konstantin Korokto and Chakra, a subtle body. It is the first and best visualization of a subtle body with the field that we can we can take the photo with the Kirlian. So it shows that this subtle body, this chakra, are something of real. And it is important because our next work is to share to many students, many doctors, this practice that is very efficient, very powerful in the management of stress, also till to the panic attack, to post-trauma syndrome, no? Stress syndrome. And, but of course, as I tell you a lot of time, we need to develop a strong neurophysiology of mind, brain, body connection. Otherwise, we are just in some practice. Now we have with the Kirlian GDB something of more to see how change the energetic field around us connected with the chakra. We can see it also with the measuring of electric measure in the nadi or meridians that are strict connected with the chakra, subtle body. But it's essential that we promote fundamental research in the mind-brain-body connection. The possibility to help a lot of people with the easy work, directly or to distance with the long communication by phone. As we are speaking, we can transmit also some signals, brain to brain, that are able to stabilize the subtle body in chakra. It is very interesting and not easy to understand the physics of this hidden channel, as Bomo described them, hidden function in the communication network, but they are indeed very interesting, very powerful, and we can use, we must develop it. This is the reason, because the connection between India and Europe must be developed with the strong cooperation between us to a practical level, because we must valorize the tradition, the high level of practice in nadi, subtle body, chakra therapy, yoga, so on, and of course in scientific development. Otherwise, we are the stregone, the magician, esoteric man, very, very powerful, but we need to develop good science, good techniques inside.
Thank you. Vincenzo, thank you. I'm happy that you have given us some, I put some things on the chat box here. You are, this is an unexpected gathering here. You know, I didn't know this was where it was going. So I'm happy that we are expanding on this. This is a very high quality discussion that has come completely unexpectedly. And I feel particularly happy that we have Ajayan Ji here, who has first-hand experience of how to measure and manipulate chakras and nadis. And we have a tool that Ajay Ji has on high-resolution photography. And also what you have presented as a fundamental research for the future, you know. And I feel if we come together, then this becomes a very, very strong area for future research. And Ajay Ji has very correctly said how physiological patterns change with the phases of the moon, you know, how you see these are clinical things. If we do a nationwide survey, we will see more of such things supporting this clinical evidence, you know. On my part, I wish to suggest that we will come together as a group again, which we are doing now as a group. We have a group called based on chakras, nadis, prana, life force, etc. We are doing that work already. But all of you who are here, please do join us in our discussions. I want to pass the microphone to Sudhir Ji. Sudhir Ji, please. Your comment about connection between the HRV and the Kirlian images is very important. Could you tell us a little more of where you would like this to go and what you have in your mind on where you want us to take this, so that we can crystallize this as one of the agenda items for a future meeting? Thank you, Sudhir Ji.
Dr. Ajayan, I'm sorry I was not able to attend your presentation. It would have been wonderful, but what you presented and explained, your input between Chaitanya and Achaitanya and Pratyaksha and Apratyaksha, these are very subtle sciences. And because they're very subtle sciences, and because we, being Indians, or some of the, like Vincenzo is one of those mavericks, he joins in the part, we can understand it because that's our culture, that's our very roots of what our beginnings are. But to explain that to scientists in some fashion, that it becomes little more understandable so that Pratyaksh becomes, becomes Pratyaksh, and Achetana becomes more Chetan. Your thought process, Dr. Jain, would be very, very interesting and helpful, even though I missed your presentation. And maybe you can send it to me, if possible, through, I connected with you through my WhatsApp and email. But I think, Madan, connecting Konstantin,
Yeah.
Vincenzo, Ajay, and Dr. Ajayan would be a good starting point in getting this Achetanya to Chaitanya. Would be a good starting point. And it was an interesting point about equator and where the whole middle body of ours. It's very interesting. I don't know what to say about that, but no doubt there is
Dehadesham, it is called. Dehadesham, which is
right.
body is also a desham. You can visualize the body.
Yeah, right. It's so equator and that information, because that is what microbiome and all the relationship of in Ayurveda, food is medicine. And that is basically the food, all the metabolism and digestion process happens in the middle, but obviously it spreads out all over the body. So I think we're on the right track because it's very subtle. That's the reason why I'm saying, please bring heart rate variability, which is still subtler, but it's more understandable. And to a physician or to a scientist, they will accept it. Acceptance is important. And acceptance, it is extremely important to take something from something you know, then to go to the unknown. What we are mostly doing, I think, is we are connecting the unknown and explaining it. But because there's a link missing in the thought process of Chaitanya-minded persons like us to the other part, it's very important. And like Dr. Ajayan was talking about, it was wonderful about the plants. I mean, these plants, the reason why they have to do all that is because it's a part of their survival. We human beings have, gone up to that, and so we use our indriya and use our brain, we use other concepts, and we lose the survival fitness part of. So I think that's where that difference is. But combining these people, Madan, Dr. Vincenzo, and Konstantin, I think he's on to something in Kiev. And because Dr. Vincenzo is part of that a lot, combining these two, Dr. Ajay and Ajayan, would be great. That's my
Thank you.
process.
Sudhirji, thank you so much for distilling this, and we will take on board your comment about bringing all of us together. We will do it as swiftly as possible. And the difficulty was presented very nicely by Dr. Ajay, which is he has data. His data is used for helping patients, but the community that he was trained by still calls it hocus pocus. And I feel this is where those workshops and training schools will come. Maybe not everybody has a vasana for this thinking. Ajayanji will be right to say, not every student has a vasana for this. And we have to identify those students who have a natural liking for this, for wanting to go into that space. And that will come through small workshops, which we will conduct, where the deep concepts that people like Ajayanji are very familiar with. They are working, his parents, his grandparents, his great-grandparents are all working in that space. They have many generations of experience. And I think that is where we must begin and form a strong nucleus somewhere where we can be together and where we learn the science of the subtle, how it is understood in Siddha medicine. The flow of energy is so well understood in Siddha medicine. How at the full moon day, the energy resides on the top of the head, and how it goes from left side to the right side. The difference between man and a woman, how the energies flow differently in the two sexes. And these are all things we can understand because we are fortunate to have people like this who have maintained the tradition. So I think Pavanji we might be pressing on time here, but what I want to suggest and what I wish to suggest here is whether we can all come back together. Whoever is attending this on YouTube, wherever they may be viewing this, please join us on our special gatherings where we will discuss this point a little more, how images could be understood in different ways between the imperceivable, between the aprathyaksh and new technologies that are there, to the pratyaksh, to what is already available, and how we can get different perspectives depending on the equipment that you use, depending on the angles that you offer, depending on the time of the day that you capture images and the landscape, etc. So that window is wide. The only thing that is required is an open mind. And I hope that if we come together as a small group and we have workshops where we discuss these special themes, Dr. Ajay has so much more data to share with us about panic attacks and how he manages and where the chakras are shifted. And maybe the team from Russia who have developed BioWell, maybe they will also join us to help advance this research. Vincenzo maybe wants to add something before. I think this discussion could go on, but I think we should draw this to a close so that Pavanji and Dr. Thakur can get on, do their things. But Vincenzo, please share. And I also want a final word from Ajayan Ji. The college that Ajayan Ji is working in and where he's the head of department of Dravyaguna is in a very, very beautiful part of India in Palakkad. Very, very green. It is like paradise there. And maybe that is a place where we can all gather, maybe that is a place where we can all gather at some point when COVID will permit, but we can also be holding our events in that place. So I want to, Vincenzo, if you have a few words, a few quick words.
Just I want to say that we can speak directly with Konstantin Koroktov, that was the developer in St. Petersburg. I met him 18 years ago when he showed in Crimea, in Cosmo Biosphere, the image of a bottle of water photo with the Kirlian, and one bottle, one glass was normal, another glass was with the field more strong. So I asked to Konstantin, what is the difference? How you charge the water that show a field, a photo with the field more strong? And he answer, it is prana or orgone radiation. So to answer to you, the connection between prana, life energy, orgone, Kirlian started to be clear. Of course, here we have a lot of work to do in this area, and we must make a very transdisciplinary approach.
Thank you.
Chemical physics, biology, physiology, biotechnology to any level to make a global picture of relation between subtle body, mind, brain, body, and technical measure, also heart rate variability. That is parameters very sophisticated that give us a lot of information about our neurovegetative system. So we have indeed great work to do. Now you and other colleagues from Delhi, Bangalore, Kerala, and other university must be active to create a super group. Super group, no easy this selection, but we need young, old people able to have a first vision of nature without prejudices. It is not too easy. Mind free, mind eyes free. First eyes or magnetic eyes, because these eyes we lost. This magnetic eyes we lost with sensitivity, magnetic sensitivity we lost. We must select for this moment people with high sensitivity and high scientific level, because we need to join these two elements for this first group that go to new trip on India from Europe, America. Okay?
Thank you.
New
Vincenzo,
Colombo in this subtle area. It's not too easy trip.
Vincenzo, thank you so much for joining here. I have put one, again, this is what we are talking about prana, the life force, and what Ajayan Ji said about the life around the equator and life around the middle of the body, where there is a high organization. These are all things that are going to be discussed at the United Nations later this year. I've put the link here. And this connection between human health and the environment. This is a very important aspect which is understood in Charaka Samhita in terms of the ongoing, their expressions there in terms of the ongoing pandemic and how corruption of the environment leads to certain complications, which Ajayan Ji has and his colleagues have a very good understanding. I feel we have today unexpectedly, Pavanji, unexpectedly, we have touched an area that is central to where the world is looking. The world is looking, Modi ji, Prime Minister Modi has been asking us to think about one planet, one health. The whole thinking he will present again at the United Nations later in September at the United Nations General Assembly, the 76th General Assembly, and I put the link here about the science event. It is essential that we revisit our knowledge, ancient knowledge, the connections that we have, the understanding of that life force that pervades the whole universe and that keeps the same logic for the human body as for the planet. And those are areas which is well understood in Ayurveda's Logapurusha Samya logic, which Ajayan Ji has shared with us today, the first few inklings of this thing. We have much, much more to discuss. I don't know how this has expanded into where we have touched today. So I just want to thank Jayesh Ji for holding us together, Pavan Ji for giving us a platform for this unexpected but very important discussion, and to Bishnu Prasad Ji, who is here with us at every event. So my pranams to all of you. Thank you so much for giving us, Pavan Ji, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes. Thanks to everybody at Zandu, Imami, for listening to our bit of extempore discussion and for permitting us to touch on all these things. We are grateful, but we are going to come back again in our gatherings, the prana gatherings. The name of our events are called Pranis for Prana. So this is the whole aim of our discussions. Praniyon ki prana ke upar charcha. So this is what is happening here. We are all pranis. We are talking and trying to understand prana, how prana flows, etc., and how this connection between the plants and the animals and the microbes and the bioenergy and the climate and how it all impacts. So, namaskar, Pavanji, thank you for entertaining us. Completely extempore meeting here, completely unexpected, but extremely valuable discussion. Thank you, Vincenzo, for joining us from Firenze.
Grazie.
Vincenzo is a modern medicine man. He studied medicine from Rome. And this is an expression of how everybody can actually come together and produce something new. So Pavanji, Dhanyavad, thank you so much. I leave it with you to conclude our event. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you all. I would like to invite you again for a unique event of shloka recitation and chanting on World Sanskrit Day. That will be our 200th webinar within these 14 months, and we will be conducting that webinar on Raksha Bandhan, World Sanskrit Day, 22nd August from 4 to 6 p.m. IST. So please do join. You're most welcome. Thank you, expert lecturers and dignitaries on the dais, off the dais. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good day and good night according to the locations. Thank you very much.
Namaskar ji, namaskar.
Namaskar,
you.
namaskar, sir.
Namaskar. Jayesh, namaskar. Thank you for Ajayan
Thank
ji,
you,
namaskar.
sir. Thank you, Samadhu. Thank
Vincenzo,
you.
namaskar. Excellent. Thank you.